Hi, welcome to my shop this afternoon. We're on the outside metal shop here, and today we're going to talk about the Harp switch stand. This is my prototype right here. Um, it's based on just pictures, like photos that I've seen of older style, narrow gauge, like Denver, Rio Grande, and Western type switch stands. Somebody in my train club this week told me that they actually used switch stands in the 19th century primarily because the turnout points weren't pivoted. So it was solid steel points all the way. The rail was solid, so they needed the leverage to pull the rails over. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. And so this again is my prototype that I'm going to use on the my 7 1/4 inch gauge. Um, Last one we talked about the pull rod, which will go under here like this, and that has to I have to have a lateral motion back and forth with it on there. So it's a pretty simple concept. Uh, it's basically there's two steel harps, if you want to call them, is obviously that's where they got their design from. Two base plates. The harps have their slots and tabs that they tab into that I'll weld here. The spacing on the switch stand is done by bolts, nuts, and steel spacers, which are these things. So this is all 1/4 inch steel, and these are 1 inch spacers. So these spacers are used in the center here for the actual, whatever you call it, the flag, the rod, the switch the switch arm. So they're 1 inch plus the 1/4 inch, that's 2 1/4. And then I got these, which are 1 1/8. So 1 1/8, 1 1/8, 2 1/4. So I just have four points to make this rigid with 3/8 inch bolts and nuts. And again, once it's welded, I'm not sure these are necessary, but they do keep it from overthrowing. So these are just McMaster car parts. Most of the hardware I buy from McMaster Car. This fork, there's a name for this actually. I forget what it is. I'll try to post it in the video. This fork is from McMaster Car. It's always cheaper buying from McMaster Car than from going through like Amazon or eBay or something like that. 90% of the time, it's cheaper. I'll say that. Sometimes maybe in quantity you can find something on eBay, but McMaster Car discounts on quantity too. So, and McMaster Car, where I am in Northeast Pennsylvania here, if I order one day, I usually get the parts either FedEx or UPS, I forget which, the next day. So you'll get your stuff quick too. If you're in the middle of a project and you're missing one thing, you know how that is. It gets pretty frustrating. Now, the flag, I think the total height of this is maybe 32 inches. The way the flag works is there's 3 positions cut. And the reason there's 3 positions is if there was a 3-way switch. We're only going to be using 2 positions. I haven't decided if I'm just going to use the center and one side or I'm going to use just both ends. Not certain on that yet, but it doesn't matter. And the way that I designed this stand to work, which might not be prototype, it probably isn't prototype. I think that they had some kind of mechanism where, they had a pin or something like that they would change position and then put the pin back in. The way I did it was to make things simple. I don't want to have to worry about any pins or losing them. Here, which I'll pull out in a second, the middle here, it doesn't have a 3/8 inch round hole. It has a 3/8 inch elongated, like oval hole, more like just long hole. And that is designed so you can actually lift it up, change position, and then drop it back in. And it's all locked. So lift, up, down. And this is 3/4 inch by 1/4 inch steel. I'm going to weld this to the arm. I'll weld this little tab. So again, just lift it up and down. Up and down, up and down. That way there's no extra parts, no pins to put in, nothing to index, everything's right there. So I'll take this out so you can see what this looks like. And again, I designed this in CAD, and all these parts are from Sen Cut Sen, which is basically an internet machine shop. It's a great resource for people like us that do things, and especially if you're designing something. Like, I didn't know this was going to work. So if you went to like your local machine shop, they're going to want you to order like 20, 30 pieces of everything to laser cut 1/4" steel. They're going to want to like to do a full sheet of steel. They're not going to want to just do 2 parts for you to see if it's good. So if you made a mistake, you're going to eat all that stuff. Where Sen Cut Sen, you can send them away, check it, make sure it works. It'll be pricier, just getting the one-off parts. But when you're ready, then you can order it in quantity. And once you start ordering in quantity from them, the price drops fast. You know, I think by maybe like 3 or 4 items, it's 1/4 or half of what it was for a single item. So this is the flag. I wanted a little weight up top. Again, it's 1/4" steel, and you can see this oval hole in the center here. This is for the actuator rod, so that goes on like this, and then there's a pin that goes through there, and a clevis to hold the pin in place. You can also use a bolt probably if you wanted to. And then this is the square tab for this. One thing, if you're designing for laser cut parts, my understanding, and this is what I did with this one, is you leave 0.01 thousandths of a, I think 1 thousandth or maybe 1/100th of an inch extra space around tab parts. So that's the flag, which I'm not going to do. And then you can see there's tabs on here, and then these are the base plates. The holes are obviously to bolt onto the ties, lag bolt onto the ties, and then it just kind of fits in here like that. Now, if I was a smart guy, which I'm not, what I would have done was probably design this with maybe a couple little fillets, like they call them dog bone fillets, on the corners here of this hole, this square slot. And what I could have done was I could have actually welded it from the back, ground it flat, and then when you looked at it, everything would be clean up here. You won't see anything. But as is now, I'm going to just have to do a couple surface welds. I'm not the best welder in the world, but that's how I'm going to do that. And again, you can see the stacked steel, so it's easy to assemble. And again, Sen Cut Sen is an awesome thing to have, you know, along with 3D printers, laser cutters. We're getting to the point with any kind of hobby now where we can really make anything we want from home without worrying about, you know, big production equipment. This is another Sen Cut thing that I'm making. This is like for the couplers, for a link and pin coupler for the cars. Again, it's tabbed and slotted, and just fits in like that. And there's a rod will go through like this, and I can put the link or pin at the top up here, so if there's a height difference from car to car, I can adjust for that. This is sort of a British practice. My locomotive's from England, and I already have this type of thing. I actually copied this from my locomotive, so I already have this on the locomotive, so I'm going to just stick with this system. I do have some like kind of American style couplers, but I kind of like this because there's no spring, I guess, so you lose that, but there's a positive connection. It's a steel, you know, flat piece of 1/4" steel with holes in it. I mean, it's not gonna go anywhere. I'm not even sure I need the backup chains when I have that type of system. Another Sen Cut Sen part that I'm working on that I designed, it's a little dusty from the wood shop, this is for my 2-axle 4-wheel cars. This is the bearing, the wheel bearing, and these will bolt on the side of the car, and there's a spring, which is, believe it or not, I think it's a 3D printer spring at the top here that goes onto this tab, and that gives it the, you know, wheel flex or whatever you want to call it, and this little piece at the bottom retains the bearing. These bearings, this is a T204 bearing. These bearings are called take-up bearings, These are super cheap. Now these are something you can buy on Amazon straight from China for like $8 or $9 a bearing. You know, so it's a great system. If you have like 2-axle cars, you could even build trucks out of these. Again, this is kind of a very British type system for the way they do 7¼ inch railroading. But my locomotive is actually done using these things. So it's a, you know, again, it's a kind of a system they don't use in the U.S. because most people do scale, like 1.5 inch to the foot, whatever, 1.6 inch, I guess, if you're doing 7¼ gauge. So they want to have a scale, you know, truck, scale side frames on the locomotive. So this one be acceptable. You might be able to hide it, but probably not, you know. So this is definitely something for minimal gauge railroading, which is what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn off the camera, get set up with the to weld this together real quick. Okay, so I prepared the parts by just a little flap wheel on a Ryobi cordless grinder. Works pretty good. Cordless, so it's convenient. I talked about having a plug-in grinder for cutting, how I think that's kind of important. So I'm using a Hobart welder. Get the settings set here. It was set for light steel the last time I was doing it. And the Hobart is a, I don't know what it is, Hobart 140. So it's actually plugged into just 120 volt power right now. I will eventually put 240 out here and maybe get a bigger welder, but this has been pretty sufficient so far. 1/4 inch, I'm kind of maxing out the capabilities of it. You don't want to go much bigger than that with this welder. So without further ado, I'm going to do the paddle first. So shouldn't need to keep that angle on probably, that magnet, but just to be safe. Not pretty, but might actually need some more power. I'm going to leave it. This is just holding that little 3/4 inch by 1 inch tab on. So I'm going to increase the power though a little bit for the other thing. Actually, I don't think I got a good weld on that. Nope, I did not. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of the side. Use the magnet to kind of hold it here. Crank up the juice a little bit more. It's all the way up power-wise. I'm pretty sure I got the gas on.
actually I was been welding not too long ago, but I've been welding very light gauge steel. So I think my mojo's off a little bit for thicker stuff.
Okay, big bloody mess. But that's what a grinder is for. I just want to make sure it's strong. Feels pretty strong. Hopefully I do a little better on these things. Okay, so
Still not great, but it'll hold.
So of course the last weld looks pretty decent and all the others look like crap, but I probably should have practiced on something before I started doing this for video consumption. So I'm going to clean it all up though. I do spend a lot of time grinding. I have a bunch of grinding tools for it, and then I'm going to paint it. I'll put it back together real quick just to see if it still functions. Good. Off one here. Oh, I got to put it up on the boards. Spacer on the one side, and I got to kind of get the spacer on the other side, which is going to be a little hard to do. Yeah, because it's bolted together. So let me loosen it a screw. I didn't have it very tight, so. Well, you know, now I realize something, the weld is only going to limit me a little bit. Ooh, still pretty hot. On how far I can spread it. Isn't something I had totally thought of. I'll be honest with you. And I might actually have to, it might not be a bad idea, I was kind of thinking about it anyway, of putting these spacers in the lathe and like kind of shimmying them down a little bit. Yeah, I think I can get it in. I guess it's better if it's tight. There we go. All right, so up, next position, up, next position, up, next position. All right, so that's it for this one. if I'm gonna clean it off, grind it, and then get it painted. And if you have any suggestions on the flag, I've seen them red, and I've seen them like red and white, like split down the middle. I'm not sure why. Maybe it makes it easier to see which position it's in. Although mine's nice and long, so I'm not going to have a problem seeing it, so I might just do it all red. But if anybody's seen a real one, I don't know if, historically there were any being used into the 20th century. There might have been. I'm kind of curious what, if there's a real one out there in a museum that somebody's seen, what they actually painted them. So thanks for watching, and next time we'll either be doing the locomotive or be putting this out. That was stupid. Putting this together and putting it in. As far as the pieces for all this stuff, if anybody is interested, I'm going to check with Send Cut Send, but I believe there's a way that I can post a link to, like they used to do with that 3D printing site. I forget what it was called. They went out of business. I forget what that was called, that everybody used for model railroading. But I might be able to put like the link to my drawings, and then you can just order these parts yourself, and make them yourself, and I can put the list of everything you need. But it's pretty simple. It's just 3/8 inch spacers that are 1 inch for here, and then 1.25 inch for here, 3.5 inch by 3/8 bolts, and 3/8 nuts. And this rod is the only thing that's a little different. That I'll put a link in for that, but it's pretty simple. Just to prototype this, I believe the parts were like the steel parts were probably like maybe like under $100, somewhere around there. They'll be a lot cheaper if you order to do like 4 or 5 of them or 6 stands at once. It's a drastically cheaper, so it might get it down to like, I don't know, $50-60 a switch stand. All right, but just contact me if you're interested. And like I said, in the meantime, I'll find out whether I could actually post that, or I'd have to send you the file. But like I said, if anybody's interested in making their own, let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care.